Language and its rules in inclusive basic education. In my survey, I have 15 responses, 4 teachers and 11 students. My data survey states that the language is an important role in inclusive education. An inclusive education is defined as a learning environment that promotes full personal, academic, and professional development of all learners, irrespective of race, class, color, gender, disability, sexual preference, learning style, and language. As the response of the respondents, using an inclusive education in the classroom is important for cultivating a welcoming and motivating classroom environment where students perceive that their different identities, knowledge, and skills are respected and valued by their teachers and peers. Teacher response on how to apply positive teaching of language in an inclusive setting. They state that they apply by creating an atmosphere who is light and comfortable to the student for them to build self-esteem in communicating with their peers and use language in a specific setting. They acknowledge the important role of language in inclusive education in order to feel belong and respected, inevitably important and use language effectively. Student response about applying positive teaching of language is by creating faster positive language teaching environment where every student feel valued and respected despite their differences. As an educator, they will apply positive teaching by choosing words wisely, knowing that we have a different student from various cultural settings, experiences, sexual identity, etc. Choosing words wisely allow us to become sensitive based on the contextual manner of the learner. These are the some results on how language play an important role to teacher and student and how they understand the use of language in inclusive basic education. As you can see, the language is important in teaching approaches in inclusive education. There are 15 responses who strongly agree that equivalent of 100%. There are 73.3% who strongly agree on a role of a teacher in inclusive education is important in a classroom to accommodate students in teaching language, and also there are 26.7% who agree. And the next one, there are 86.7% who strongly agree in an inclusive classroom language is used for effective communication for everyone, and there are 13.3% who agree. Another one, the issue that inclusive education faces when it comes to language affect the learner in inclusive education. There are 40% who agree, and also there are 13.3% who disagree, and 6.7% who strongly agree, and 40% who strongly disagree. And the next one, having a deep understanding of the rule of language can reduce discrimination, disrespect with peers. There are 58.3% who strongly agree and 41.7% agree. Then the next one is using language in teaching practices. In inclusive education, help the student to connect and improve their learning with their peers. There are respondents who have 71.4% who strongly agree and 28.6% who agree. In conclusion, according to the response, I must say that teacher and student have a different understanding and experience about language in inclusive education, where language is a vehicle of communication, yet through language, it allows to connect and interact with one another. It encourages to understand the intercultural aspect, knowing that language is the soul of the culture. The majority of the respondents states that language has a positive impact in inclusive basic education, but we have to be mindful on how we use the language, also how we apply in a classroom, and what strategies to make in order to have effective learning in an inclusive classroom. It states that language is an important role in our daily life in order to understand each other and to feel valued and respected.